It's Trekkers.
Oh, sorry, Dennis. Dennis says it's Trekkers.
There are special events and expert panels every day and a costume competition on Saturday. That should be good. Attendees say they've met some of their best friends at this convention in past years. Single-day general admission tickets start at $60, and that gives new meaning to live long and prosper. But that's the place to be.
Yeah.
And I guess Shatner goes to all of these things.
Does he really?
And big money.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Trekkers.
Trekkers.
Trekkers. All right, that's our time for
And right now at 5, Quintez Cephas's former roommate and teammate takes the stand in day 3 of the UW athlete's sexual assault trial.
And there's a new push to educate teens about dating violence. We'll hear from high schoolers.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now at 5.
For staying with us at 5, everyone, UW-Madison football player Danny Davis testified in court today in the Quintez Cephas trial.
2 women claim Cephas sexually assaulted them 1 year ago. Jamie Perez joins us from the Dane County Courthouse with some of the new things as we're learning about the case today. Jamie?
Well, today Cephas was asked if he would testify at the stand, but his attorneys let them know that they won't make their decision until tomorrow. But today, Davis took the stand and said that although he was drinking alcohol that night, he was able to recollect some of the events from his own perspective. Now, he said from his testimony today that the 2 alleged victims had also been drinking but were coherent and walking straight on their own. Davis admitted to taking a photo of the girls in Cephas's room after Cephas walked out of the room naked and asked him to take that photo. Davis said the sound of the picture being taken woke up one of the girls. She got angry with him, and then he deleted it from his phone after that. He added later that when he spoke to one of the girls who was in that room, he was trying to calm her down, and this is how part of that conversation with her went.
Did she say that she was mad at herself for having hooked up with Quintez?
Yes.
Did she say she said, everybody will think I'm a slut?
Yes.
She never said she was upset about, hey, Quintez just raped me. She never said that.
No.
Right? It was all about the picture, and AJ is going to find out, and she was mad at hooking up with Quintez, correct?
Yes.
A girl who says she was with Davis in another room in the apartment when the alleged sexual assault was happening also took the stand today, but said she couldn't confirm a lot of the questions that she was asked in court today because it was so long ago that it happened, and she was also intoxicated that night. Again, Cephas may or may not take the stand tomorrow. We will find out. Court has just adjourned for the day, but it will start back up again at 8 o'clock tomorrow. We will be here for that to provide you coverage then.
All right, Jamie Perez reporting live from downtown. Thank you.
The Missouri farmer charged in the case of 2 missing Wisconsin brothers will stay in jail until further notice. That decision came from a judge after Garland Nelson appeared via video today. He was denied bond as authorities process human remains found on his property yesterday. 35-year-old Nicholas Diemel and his 24-year-old brother Justin were first reported missing more than a week ago. Nelson is currently charged with tampering with Diemel's rental truck and abandoning it in a commuter lot after visiting his farm.
Madison police say they've arrested a suspected cocaine dealer after a search warrant was served at an apartment on the city's north side. Police say 29-year-old Darnell Patterson faces several drug charges, including maintaining a drug dwelling and 5 counts of cocaine delivery. Officers found cash, cell phones, drug packaging, and digital scales. The Republican Speaker of the Wisconsin Assembly is telling a paralyzed Democratic state representative that he will not grant his request to call into committee meetings by phone. Speaker Robin Vos sent Representative Jimmy Anderson the letter today. Vos tells Anderson that he can't change the Assembly meeting rule by fiat and that the full Assembly would have to vote. Vos says he'll make a videographer available upon request for meetings Anderson can't make and would consider allowing for paper ballot voting, a process where the lawmaker can vote without being present. Representative Jimmy Nelson responded on Twitter by saying, to call my request for an accommodation for my disability grandstanding is offensive and shows how little respect Speaker Robin Vos has for the ADA. He's been aware of my accommodation request since January and has ignored them.
Let's get a check on the weather now. Meteorologist Chris Reese is on the weather patio. Chris?
Hey, I'm right here.
You're in here. Sorry,
Right next to you.
You should be outside. It's so nice.
I would like to be. I think there were a little bit of technical difficulties with the weather patio camera, but I'll tell you what, it is absolutely a beautiful day still. Clear skies behind me. It's even hard to actually find a cloud in the sky out there, folks, and we're going to continue to be that way as we go through the rest of the evening. I'll show you why here in just a second. The temperature right now, 80 degrees. Those winds still out of the north and east at 6 miles per hour. 82 for our friends in Janesville, same for Mineral Point, Lone Rock at 80, Boscobel at 83. So you can see it's been a little bit of a warmer afternoon. Still, no showers, no thunderstorms or anything like that to worry about. Let me show you how the cloud cover has behaved as we went throughout the day. We had a few fair weather clouds develop throughout the western half of the area earlier today, but notice how once they popped up, they went on away. And so now we're going to see clear skies as we go through the rest of the evening. Expect those temperatures to fall through the 70s and eventually through the 50s, or 60s rather, with your overnight lows being in the upper 50s. We'll talk about when we could see another rain chance and perhaps what your weekend forecast is looking like coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Chris.
A group of neighbors near Rindall Park are hoping that soon they don't have to say goodbye to their woods.
The city has planned a project that will go through the park, taking with it 39 trees. Amy Reed is here now to explain why the city says this is the best path. Amy?
This is part of a project for a new sewer line set to go through Rindall Park. The route is mapped to go through these woods that you'll see in just a second, and that's where neighbors get upset. They say the city could go around the trees and not cut any down. There's some open field to the north, but the city says this is the best route. The sewer line comes with a permanent easement, so it must be placed somewhere that wouldn't hinder future projects. They also said they made tough choices to keep the best of the trees that are there, and that came with sacrifices.
There's some precious, irreplaceable 100-year-old oaks, and this project keeps those trees safe and the root zone safe. The trade-off is that there are a larger number of trees removed potentially than would be if you just cut an oak down.
Neighbors still aren't happy. Coming up at 6, we talked to one man who started a petition to get the city to change course. This project is years in the making, though. The city said at this point the sewerage district would have to call off the project to get these changes in.
Thanks, Amy.
After 5 years, Madison chef Tory Miller is closing his restaurant on the city's Near East Side. Miller announced Sujo is closing on August 24th. The restaurant is limiting its hours starting today. It'll now be open Tuesday through Thursday and Sundays from 4:30 to 9. On Friday and Saturday, the restaurant will stay open until 1:30 a.m. Miller says he plans to focus on delivering the best experiences he can at his other restaurants, Gray's, Estrillon, and L'Etoile Restaurant.
Teens around Wisconsin would learn about dating violence in school under a new proposal at the state capitol.
The bill would require health classes to teach about how to prevent this from happening. Rose Schmidt tells us what students think about all this. Rose?
Yes, well, do students know what a healthy relationship looks like? A new proposal would help guarantee that that would be taught in their schools.
It's our biggest fundraising event.
At the Rape Crisis Center,
I think that consent is the basis for all human relationships.
Missy Mail is no stranger to talking to high schoolers about topics that can be uncomfortable, but the end goal is worth it.
If you teach consent early and often, like from a very young age, in everything we do, it's going to form healthy relationships.
Seniors Cyrung Bruner and Kimberly Leone are on an advisory board that helps them learn about sexual violence and rape culture. They'll tell you they've learned the extremes in school, but not necessarily the factors that could be affecting their friends every day.
If your partner is hitting you, that's really bad, but you don't learn about behavioral things that really affect people.
Now I see how, I guess we call those like red flags that popped up. We didn't pay attention to them because we thought, oh my gosh, it's normal.
But Representative Melissa Sargent says a new bill aims to make students aware that there's nothing normal about teen dating violence. It would require health classes to teach students about prevention.
DPI would create a model legislation, and schools could decide to use that, or they could have their own curriculum that they put forward as well.
The proposal was inspired by Sargent's former intern.
And here we had a young woman who wasn't even old enough to vote, who sat down with me and shared her personal story. And because of that, we have this bill that I know will save lives when we do get it passed.
Missy and her team at the Rape Crisis Center have their own curriculum that they use. But she says because there isn't a set standard from the state, It's all over the board.
We might go into one classroom for 30 minutes once a year, another classroom for a couple of classes in a row, and then some not at all.
Missy's hoping to build a foundation at an early age and make students know the resources available to them.
It's really helpful to know the things to look for in an abusive relationship and where you can go to get help.
Sargent has introduced this bill before, and it's even had public hearings, but she says there has been some opposition to the idea of teaching young people about relationships.
All right, Rose, thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Your life matters. That is the mental health message that a corn maze is sharing with the world. The Wisconsin maze has had different designs over the years, but this year the owners decided to focus on suicide prevention to mark the upcoming fall season. The maze also includes the National Suicide Hotline number. Julie and John Govin lost a family member to suicide 6 months ago. So it's not only a message they're hoping to get out to everyone else, it's something to keep them going as well.
Everybody is somebody's most important person. If we can make a difference, if we save a life this fall, that's worth it.
The maze also has an area for children that focuses on anti-bullying efforts. The corn maze is in Menominee, which is just west of Eau Claire. It officially opens September 21st.
We'll let the games begin. The 2019 CrossFit Games are officially underway at the Alliant Energy Center.
Welcome to the 2019 Fremont CrossFit Games.
This is the third year the games have been in Madison, and it's the biggest yet, with this year's field expanding to include athletes from 114 countries, up from 32 in 2018. Day one started with 148 men and 134 women, but those numbers were slashed in half to 75 athletes after the first event. History could be made at this year's games. Reigning champ Matt Frazier is back, and he's hungry for his fourth title. If he gets it, he'll tie the all-time record and become the fittest man in history. But first, there's a lot of competition to get through, much of which is kept secret until just hours before.
Some athletes do, some don't. The individuals do not know what they're going to be doing for their first event. And the biggest reason behind that, I think, is to just see have they prepared well enough throughout the season to put all of their skills on test here this weekend.
The competition continues for the next 3 days, culminating Sunday when the fittest man and woman on earth will be crowned. For a full schedule of events, times, and deals offered around town in conjunction with the games, head to our website, channel3000.com.
Wanakee Public Library opens its doors after more than a decade of planning to relocate to Madison Street. The library hosted a ribbon-cutting ceremony and open house today, and tomorrow the library is officially open for public use. The original library was built in 1985 when Wanakee had 1/3 of the residents it does now. The number of books and movies at the library remains the same, but its new location offers more space for meetings and study rooms.
We were really crushed for space and really just needed more places for people to congregate. We didn't have any study rooms. We had just one programming room.
Beyond extra meeting space, the library looks out at 6 Mile Creek. It showcases artwork from local artists and has a history hall which recognizes Wanakee's past.
Quick Trip could be coming to a doorstep near you. Quick Trip is partnering with delivery service E Street. The delivery partnership is rolling out in phases with a pilot period starting today at its store at 1421 Monroe Street in Madison. The convenience store is offering more than 400 items through the app. Customers who order at the Monroe Street store will receive free delivery through August 14th. If the pilot program is successful, Quick Trip said they plan to launch in Eau Claire, Wausau, and Appleton. Well, ahead on News 3 now at 5, President Trump takes to the campaign trail tonight, his response to the Democratic debates.
And then coming up tonight at 6, a crime spree on Beloit's East Side could be continuing. Hear how you can help police in their search for suspects.
And a down day on Wall Street. The Dow Industrials lost 280 points. The NASDAQ off 64. The S&P 500 fell 26. We'll be right back. Well, after 2 nights of debates from the 2020 Democratic candidates, it's President Trump's turn to speak to voters, this time with a campaign rally in Cincinnati.
Many of the 2020 contenders zeroed in on former Vice President Joe Biden, who returned to the trail. Senator Bernie Sanders, who took the debate stage Tuesday, told CBS News his fellow Democrats should stick to the issues instead of attacking each other.
You try to beat up on somebody else. Frankly, I don't think it's good politics.
Well, I expected it. And look, I hope we're going to get a chance to talk about the future of these other debates.
I think Biden did okay. He came through. I think Kamala had a bad night.
Democrats will take the debate stage again next month in Houston, Texas. The requirements to get into the debate are much more stringent. So far, only a handful of candidates have met those requirements. A bipartisan budget and debt deal has passed the Senate and is heading to the White House for President Trump's signature. The measure would permit the government to resume borrowing to pay all of its bills and would set an overall $1.3 trillion limit on agency budgets approved by Congress annually. It would also remove the prospect of a government shutdown in October.
Let's get a look now at your first alert weather. Meteorologist Chris Reese has your forecast on this first day of August.
Yeah, it is the first day of August, and that weather still continues to be very beautiful out there. Here's a live look over the Edgewater sky camera. You can't find any cloud cover. Temperatures made it to 80 degrees, so we're a couple degrees warmer today as opposed to the past couple of days. Normal is 81. We started out, though, all the way at 53 this morning, 6 degrees away from the record of 47. The temperature right now, again, 80. Those winds coming out of the north and east at 6 miles per hour as we speak. The dew points, though, have dropped into the upper 40s. We'll touch on why that is in just a moment. Meanwhile, temperatures do remain in the upper 70s and low 80s throughout parts of the state. We work our way over towards the lake shore, and it's the mid 70s, so things are a little bit cooler there, but still things are mild. This is also where you see a lot of those dew points that are a lot lower. This is due to lakes having drier air and influencing us from the easterly and northerly winds. So part of Lake Winnebago is influencing this. Of course, Lake Michigan is influencing the drier air that you do see over the eastern half of the viewing area. Back towards the west, a lot of those dew points, though, starting to creep up into the upper 50s and low 60s. So one of the things that we will notice is that through time, our dew points are going to be coming up a little bit, especially towards the weekend. Hold on to that one. In fact, let's zoom things out and notice how dew points begin to reach the upper 60s as you work your way back towards the high plains. This is something that we'll be watching closely. We'll feel it a little bit by the time we get you into Saturday and Sunday. Still, though, high pressure is in control. That means there are no showers and thunderstorms in the area. Eventually, though, we'll watch this high start to slide over towards the east. Once that happens, it begins to allow this front that you see coming out of Canada to slide ever so slightly towards the south and east. In the meantime, another disturbance out over the central plains will begin to move our direction too. That may make the atmosphere just unsettled enough to try to spark up a shower or thunderstorm this weekend. I just don't think it's going to have that large of an influence on us, but I'll show you what I'm talking about in just a second. Watch what starts to sag southward out of the north as we go into Friday night. It's a little area of showers and thunderstorms. That's the front, and that may begin to spark off an isolated shower or thunderstorm into Saturday afternoon as well. So most of your weekend will be dry, but we can't rule out a slight chance on Saturday afternoon, and it could be the same story as we move into Sunday afternoon as well. Of course, we're going to watch that very closely, but in terms of the actual hour-by-hour forecast, here's how things are shaping up for us. Watch temperatures cool down into the upper 50s overnight. Tonight, some folks will be a little bit cooler, especially as you work your way towards the north. Into tomorrow, the sunshine sticks around, but those winds begin to come out of the south. We'll see those temperatures topping out right around 83. Then Friday night, you see the weak area of showers up near the Fox River Valley. It tries to move our direction, but it's going to run into some drier air. That slight chance of showers and thunderstorms, that'll be Saturday afternoon. Notice the coverage is not all that widespread, and I do think a lot of folks will end up staying on the drier side there. But temperatures will hover into the low 80s. Then next week, they gradually begin to come down a little bit to being more so below average. The reason for this is that big ridge of heat out west, it's starting to break down. This is going to allow some cooler air to move in out of Canada, but the zone that's going to separate the cooler air in the north towards the warmer air in the south and west, that's going to be right on top of us, and we call this a baroclinic zone. It's the area where we see the jet stream right on top of us. It's kind of like being stuck in traffic when your winds higher up in the atmosphere are moving 150 miles per hour. The winds at the ground that are a lot slower want to get into that fast lane. So the air begins to rise. That leads to chances for showers and thunderstorms. That is why by the time we get you towards Friday and Saturday next week, we do have those rain chances in the forecast. It's going to be something we pay very close attention to. Outside of that, any rain chances as we go through the week ahead at the meantime are fairly slight. So we do keep the yellow sunshine in your 7-day for now. Let's go ahead and show you guys traffic as folks begin to head home on this Thursday. This is the Beltline at Park Street. Of course, the traffic volume is increasing. Average speeds right now anywhere from about 16 miles per hour up towards 39 miles per hour. Now, there is one accident at the Beltline and Interstate Interchange. It's not causing any major delays at the moment, but of course, that is something we're tracking. Of course, some slowdowns showing up downtown towards the Isthmus as well. Just drive safely on your way home, folks. We'd like to see you here tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Ahead on News 3 now at 5, the government approves new rules banning certain types of robocalls. We'll explain right after this. It's estimated Americans receive around 150 million robocalls every day.
The FCC implemented new measures today in an attempt to crack down on them. Experts say it will help, but it won't put an end to those unwanted calls, unfortunately. Lisa Mateo reports.
Robocalls are a daily annoyance.
I've gotten 14 phone calls. 14.
And all those calls to Patricia Yuhas were spoofed.
All from a 216 number, which is our area code, so it looks like it's a local number.
If the calls weren't bad enough, earlier this year, Yuhas also received a series of robo-texts promising cash loans.
What are you doing? Take me off this.
The item is adopted.
In an effort to crack down on the messages, the FCC approved new rules that ban spoof texts and spoof calls that originate from outside the U.S.
With these changes, the FCC will be able to go after bad actors who spoof text messages and those overseas who prey on consumers in this country.
The FCC has been stepping up efforts to stop unwanted calls. In June, the agency gave phone providers new power to block robocalls before they reach your devices.
Yeah, it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Roger Chang is the executive editor at CNET News.
The additional enforcement powers can only help. But that said, these scammers, these robocall folks they're smart people. They've been able to continually advance and upgrade their game. This isn't the end of robocalls by any measure.
But it's hoped the new measures can significantly decrease the number we get. Phone companies are expected to implement new technology by the end of the year called Stir Shaken. It requires all calls carry an authentic digital signature, ensuring that the number you see in the caller ID is legitimate and not spoofed. Lisa Mateo, CBS News, New York.
And we'll have another check of the weather when we come back. Just cut and paste the forecast.
Seriously, it's been the same thing just about every day, but I think folks are happy with that, especially with the summer pattern. Overnight tonight, look for those lows to fall back into, you guessed it, the upper 50s. That's where they have been. I do think we'll be a little bit warmer tonight as opposed to last night, though. Temperatures stay in the low 80s through the weekend, but early next week we begin to slide these temperatures a couple degrees below average into the upper 70s. There will be a few minor rain chances, but the best one is next weekend.
Oh, looks great. Enjoy this stretch.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for watching, everybody. The CBS Evening News is coming up next.